All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And I have previously gone over 11 videos under the docs.microsoft.com Getting Started with ASP.NET MVC5. So I went over all of these. Now I am going to go over the 12 for getting started with EF6 using MVC5, but first, so instead of doing numbers 1, 2, then 3, I'm going to do 1, then 3, then 2. So I'm jumping off to or over to Getting Started with Entity Framework 6, Database First using MVC5. So I'm going to go over these 7 lessons. The first is Getting Started with Entity Framework 6, Database First using MVC5. Then the creating the web application and data models, generating views, changing the database, customizing a view, enhancing data validation, and publishing to Azure. All right, so let's just jump right into the first one here. Now, all of them start with this. So let's just do this one time and forget about it for the other 7. Using Model View Controller, Entity Framework, and ASP.NET scaffolding, you can create a web application that provides an interface to an existing database. This tutorial shows how to automatically generate code that enables users to display, edit, create, and delete data that resides in an existing database. The generated code corresponds to the columns in the database table. In the last part of the series, we will deploy the site and database to Azure. I'm hoping to do all of this. The first part of this series focuses on creating a database and populating it with data. All right, so as mentioned right here, this topic shows how to start with an existing database and quickly create a web application that enables users to interact with data. It uses Entity Framework 6 or EF6 in conjunction with Model View Controller 5 to build the web application. The associated ASP.NET scaffolding feature allows you to automatically generate code for displaying, updating, creating, and deleting data. So the CRUD operations. Using the publishing tools within Visual Studio, you can easily deploy the site and the database to Azure, which I'm hoping to do also. This topic addresses the situation where you have a database, an existing database, and you want to generate code for a web application based on the fields of that database. This is known as database first. When we look at the next one, it will be more code first. If you do not already have an existing database, you can use code first. All right? So, set up the database. As it says here, to mimic the environment of having an existing database, you will first create a database with some pre-filled data and then create the web application that connects to the database. This tutorial will be developed using LocalDB, but with 2015 Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. All right, so before I launch this, what I am going to do is I've already got my last application open that I worked on, the MVC movie. I'm going to do one last save, file, save all, and then a couple things that I forgot to mention last time. First thing is, although I set this project up to use Git, I never used Git. So when I do it in the classroom, after we finish with each lesson, we will make sure that we do an add and a confirm, etc. So we will make this, we will have at least 12 different versions of Git, which we didn't have now. The second thing to tell you is looking at the size of some of these, not all of them, but some of these presentations that I created. In chapters 9 and 10, I busted them down into 2 different applications. But before that, a couple of these are darn near close to 40 minutes, and I apologize for that. I didn't want them to be that long. But let's see. I'm still just finishing the production of some of these, but before that, try that again. That when I come up here and I take a look, I mean, these aren't bad. 20 minutes, 25, 11, and 16, and I guess 22. But notice 16, not bad. 31, that's too long. 34, that's too long. 12, that's good. 12 again, that's good. All right. But as I come through here and I add the rest of these, which is what I'm going to start doing, all right, that is, when you take a look at what's in here, some of these are quite a bit longer. All right. Suffice to say, sorry. All right. And I will try to make sure that when I do them in the classroom, they are approximately, no longer than approximately 30 minutes each. Sometimes that's hard to do. What I have a tendency to do in my classroom is to lecture for about 50 to 55 minutes, give a 10-minute break. Lecture 50 to 55 more minutes, give a 10-minute break. So we'll see how it ends up working. I don't know how it'll work out. All right? All right, that said, let's jump back into where we were. So I'm going to do a file, and I'm going to close my solution. So, close this up, and I no longer have any solution up here. What we are told to do here is to create an SQL Server database project, which I've never done, so I'm looking forward to this. And it looks like it's under the Visual F Sharp. So, and this is supposed to be called Contoso University Data. So I'm going to try that and see if I have any problems with it. So, File, New, Project. Let's jump down into other languages. F Sharp. And I don't like the way that looks because it says install F Sharp tools. Might be because I don't think that when I set all this stuff up, I don't know if I ever, there we go. SQL Server Database Project. Hello. So it wasn't under there, it was under other languages. I apologize. All right, Contoso University Data. We're going to put it on the desktop. I'm not going to worry about a Git repository right now. I'm just going to leave it off and click OK. All right. So here it is. Jumping back in here, we've done all that. You now have an empty database project. You will deploy this database to Azure later in this tutorial. So you'll need to set, well, hopefully I didn't go further than I should have gone, but okay, I think we'll be fine. We will need to set the Azure SQL database as the target platform for the project. Setting this does not actually deploy the database. It only means that the project will verify that the database design is compatible with the target platform. So we want to go to Properties for the project and select Microsoft Azure SQL Database for the target platform. So we want to go to, look again, open the properties for the project. I think that might be under View. I don't remember. It's been a while. View, Properties window. Nothing happened. Project settings. We want to find this target platform so we can choose Microsoft Azure SQL Database. Target platform. Microsoft Azure SQL Database. Looks pretty good to me. All right. And we want to make sure that that's enabled and that's enabled on the bottom. Well, I don't see that, but let's see. Oops. Enable extended and validate casing. And there's validate casing. I don't see any enable extending here. So I can't select something that I don't see. You can create the tables needed for this tutorial by adding SQL scripts that define the tables. Right-click on your project and choose Add New Item. Well, the first thing I want to do is I have done this. And I'm hoping that this is now okay. Let's see if I go back to project and view the properties. Yeah, it still says Azure, so that should be okay. All right. So next, according to this, I want to come in here, right mouse click on the project and choose Add New Item. All right, this is new for me too. I have read this section, but I have not done this before. All right, I just thought it'd be more interesting for me too to do it this way. So I want to go down, find table, and call it student. So we have table in here. If we go down far enough, table, and we want to call this student. All right, this looks familiar to us. We have dealt with this before, and let's see, much easier for me to work from it this way. All right, probably would be easier for me to do some copying as I have done in the past. So replace the TLSQ command. So I'm going to grab this right there. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, then go back over to here and paste all that in. All right, so push that down a tad and up a tad. There. All right. So it says, notice that the design window automatically synchronizes with your code. You can work in either or with either one. All right. Now, I'm wondering, I think I should save at least. All right. Add another table that we're going to call course. So I think I can close this. Right mouse click again. Add new item. Will it remember that we were at table? Yes, it does. And we will call this course. It brings this up. Again, we will go back. Oh, I should mention, so what did we do here? ID is going to be our primary key, and it's going to be an auto increment field starting at 1. Our last name will be an nvarchar, can be null, max of 50. First name, nvarchar, can be null, max of 50. Enrollment date is a date time, so all three of these can be null. All right, and the primary key again is being set up as the student ID. So we've got all that stuff set up. Then for the course, and I'm just going to grab this, but let's quickly take a look at it. Again, we will have the course ID, which will again be it'll be our primary key, which will again be an auto increment field starting at 1, can't be null. We'll have a title of an nvarchar 50, which can be null, and credits, which is an int, which I'm surprised they're allowing to be null also. So for the course, we will come in here and replace what's in here, and I'm only doing this so I don't have to be doing a lot of typing in front of you. All right, So I'm again going to save, and I'm again going to close. And then finally, I'm going to repeat this one last time so you can see my two tables. So I'm going to right mouse click, add, whoops, try it again. Right mouse click, add, new item. It's remembering that it's a table, and this one will be enrollment. All right, so I will now have my three tables over here. I will again be removing what's in there and replacing it with what's in here. Now this is a little bit more complex. You'll notice that I've got an enrollment ID, which is my primary key, auto increment, can't be null, a grade, which is a decimal, which I guess would have the largest it could be would be 9.99, but we'll set it up later that it'll have a range from 0 to 4, can be null, a course ID, which is an integer that can't be null, and a student ID, which is an integer that can't be null. This course ID right here is a foreign key in this table that goes to this course ID here. This student ID, which can't be null in the enrollment table, is a primary key that goes into the student ID here. All right, that's pretty much what they're mentioning here. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, go back to my code, paste that in, and I now have all of this stuff. All right. So everything has been set up as far as my three tables. They're right there. Okay. It says you can populate your database with data through a script that is run after the database has been deployed. So we want to add a post-deployment script to the project. This is just a way that this can be done, not necessarily the only way for it to be done. But I want to choose post-deployment script. I'm going to choose script down here, and I want post-deployment script. They say that we can use the default name, which is script.postdeployment1.sql. Right there. And then we are to come in and add the following code to this. This script simply adds data to the database when no matching record is found. It does not overwrite or delete any data previously entered into the database. So what does this mean? When we get done, we will have in course, we will have three course IDs, 1, 2, and 3. Course ID 1 is economics, course ID 2 is literature, course ID 3 is chemistry. And course economics is worth 3 credits, literature is worth 3 credits, and chemistry is worth 4 credits. All right. Then we will have 3 students right now. Student ID 1, 2, and 3. Last name Tibbetts, first name Donnie. And the enrollment date, September 1st, 2013. All right, then Guzman, Lisa Guzman, and there's her date. Then Phil Catlett, and there's his date. Finally, we will have the enrollment. So there's our 6 enrollment IDs. That will be for the different courses, 1, 2, and 3, and those will be for the different students, 1, 2, and 3. All right. Now notice it is important to note here that the post-deployment script is run every time you deploy your database project. Therefore, you need to carefully consider your requirements when writing this script. In some cases, you may wish to start over from a known set of data every time the project is deployed. In other cases, You may not want to alter the existing data in any way. Based on your requirements, you can decide whether you need a post-deployment script or not and what you need to include in it. So let's grab this. Copy it to the clipboard, go back to our code, and we will add this script, which currently has nothing in it but a big comment, and we will paste that in. All right? Now I believe after we paste this in, we need to click the execute button, which will tell it to run. Invalid object name course. Well, that is not a good start. It's telling us we should run this. Let's try and see what that does. All right, I'm going to come back. Let's see. Now I may not have done this right. All right, I'm not sure. It says we now have 4 script files, 1, 2, 3, 4 script files, but no tables. You're ready to deploy your database to the local DB. In Visual Studio, and I may have really screwed up by clicking that execute first. I don't know. All right, so in Visual Studio, click the Start button, F5, to build and deploy. Then it says, I already did that, so it says check the Output tab to make sure that it's all worked. All right, I just went into View and I chose SQL Object Explorer. All right. So look for the name of the project in the correct local database server. There's my course, there's my enrollment, there's my students. Contoso University data. All right. Now, I'm going to look at this here. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to choose Properties because it has here just hoping that everything that I've been doing has been okay so far. All right, let's move this down. Let's close this, and let's take a look at our tables. Let's I don't have a view data in here, which is not making me feel real good right now. We're told to right-click a table and choose View Data, which is not in here, but that's not a good sign. So I'm going to come back. I already did this. I did the build. Nothing failed. I did the deploy. Nothing failed. But I do not see my data in here. That all looks perfectly fine. So I want to close, I want to close, I want to close. I want to try to build this again. I don't know if I'm making it better or worse, but I'm going to try anyway. So let's save everything, build our solution. And now let's try to run it. So close that. I'm just going to run this. Says it succeeded or it's up to date. I opened up the Object Explorer. I looked for the name of the project, which was here. I am going to go and refresh one more time. I can view my code, but that's not doing anything. The tables were not populated with data, so something is wrong. All right. I'm not sure what is wrong, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. Those are my system databases. Could it be this one? That looks good. View data. There it is. All right. Enrollment. View data. There that is. And student. View data. There that is. It appears as though everything has been filled up. All right. And that's what we were supposed to do in this first lesson. So the database is now up and populated with data. In the next tutorial, we will create an associated web application. All right, so I will be back with that one shortly. Let's first do a file save all, and that should be it.